The Tiwi Bombers football team entered the AFL-NT competition as a fully fledged outfit in 2007. The team has gone on to win a place in the finals in all 3 seasons they've contested, including a grand final berth this year. But the Bombers are facing uncertainty in the lead-up to this season. They're yet to secure the sponsorship needed to keep the team running. Earlier, I spoke to the Tiwi Bombers chairman, Alan McGill. Alan McGill, thank you for talking to Stateline.
It's a pleasure.
First of all, will the Tiwi Bombers have enough money to field a team in the 2010-2011 AFL-NT competition?
We will have enough money and we will be competing, and we'll be trying to go one step further than we did last year.
Is that a rock-solid guarantee, or is it hard yards have to be walked through yet?
Oh, we're still looking for some extra sponsors, but we will be playing and we'll be competing in the competition. But yeah, we are still searching for sponsors, and it does cost a lot of money to run the club.
So what sort of money are you looking for at this stage?
Well, it costs us around about $300,000, a little bit over, to run the club for one season. And in the first 3 years, we've had a very generous sponsor in Shorelands who basically gave us $100,000 each for each of the first 3 years. Last year, we had some extra help from 2 of the Aboriginal families, one on Melville Island, one on Bathurst Island. But that was always a one-off support for 1 year. We knew we weren't going to get that for this next season, so we're out looking, and we are talking to some sort of corporate type sponsors to cover that gap.
So you say $300,000. Is that significantly more than other clubs are having to foot?
Yeah, I'm not sure how much it costs to run another club, but the difference with us is every week we have to fly players in to Darwin to compete, and that annual budget of flying people in from the Tiwi Islands is about $130,000 to $130,000 each year.
Now you're saying those one-off payments are not going to be there this season, so what sort of plan have you got to fill that hole?
Yeah, we are talking to a couple of sponsors at the moment, and hopefully they'll come off, and with a bit of hope they'll be significant corporate sponsorship. But we have a lot of opportunity for membership and for merchandise sales, which we have not yet capitalised on. Together with that, there's 2,000 odd people 2,500 people live on the Tiwi Islands, and it's probably time that they started to contribute more towards the cost through other fundraising that we can do on the islands.
In the lead up to this year's grand final, there was talk that a win was needed to get the sponsorship required to keep the team running. Is that the case? Has it made it harder, the fact that you didn't win a flag?
It would have been nicer to have won the flag, but I don't think it's made it any harder. I'd put it the other way. If the Tiwi Bombers aren't there next year, there's the AFL and others are going to be the losers, because 10,000 people at the grand final is a major achievement. So, yeah, I think making the grand final and be so competitive all the year does make it easier for us to talk to sponsors, but it would have been nicer to have won.
How do you see the long-term viability of the Bombers? Is it realistic to look at this year-on-year search for sponsors, or do you need to come up with another plan?
No, it'd be nice to have... We've actually got a 3-year plan for the club's development, and it'd be nice to have sort of funding guaranteed, or the sources of our revenue guaranteed for the 3 years. What we're trying to do is transition to a place where we're more able to generate our own money. We only get 4 home games, so we don't get a lot of opportunity to get gate takings from a home game, for example. But we do need to become more self-sufficient from within our own resources, our own membership and our own Tiwi family that are on the 2 islands.
Now, we've heard that there are other teams sniffing around for Tiwi Bombers players. Does that make your job a lot more difficult, given that you have this funding struggle?
Well, look, it's a free market, and players will play where they'd like to play. I can understand why they want to approach our players. I mean, who wouldn't? There's some spectacular players, very skillful players. What the other clubs might not realise is that some of the players who are with them at the moment are trying to come home. The Tiwi players want to be part of the Tiwi effort. Their slogan last year was, "We want to win for our people." And I think the fact that we made the grand final really has elevated that level of support from within the Tiwi people to a much higher level.
And what is it that you can offer as incentives to keep your players on board, given that you're not paying them, are you?
No, we don't pay players. I don't know whether other clubs pay much either, but it's the love of playing football and the love of playing for the Tiwis. That's what the local Tiwis will want to play for the Bombers for. And admittedly, we have a couple of interstate players. There's not too many tall Tiwis in the system, so we have to, if we're going to be competitive, bring in some taller players. And those players are in it for the love of it. They love playing for the Tiwis as well. It's really interesting how they've adopted what the Tiwi Bombers is all about.
And are you seeing any benefits, flow-on benefits, in terms of the impact in the community? Because that's part of the focus of the Tiwi Bombers as well, isn't it?
Absolutely. The Bombers are about football, using football as a vehicle for social change. And I think there have been some really positive signs. And whether they're directly linked to the Tiwi Bombers, who knows? But certainly we had 65 people training at the beginning of the last season. That's an unknown up until now. We'd cut it back to 30 serious people in January as we got closer to the finals. And of those 30 players, 15 of them have got jobs, real jobs, not working for CDEP, real jobs, and they really are the role models. And I'm hoping that is a sign that we can use this football to influence change. I admit, it was all in the media a couple of times during the year where some people did the wrong thing and took grog back. But even that in itself shows that it was a big change. Those people learnt from that, and I think the development of those young people, it really is a great example of what this sort of concept can do.
Alan McGill, thank you for talking to Stateline.
That's a pleasure.